Good day, everyone. It's a new day. That means today we're going to be doing a new project. So, today we're going to be talking about forms. So, this is what we have rendered in the DOM or in the browser. And just a simple input or the simplest form of a form, unintended. So, today is going to be a fun video. So, what we're going to do is going to be very lightweight. It's just going to be very straightforward and easy. We're going to talk about forms, right? We're going to talk about forms and how to work with forms in React. So what we have here is a form component, very simple form component like this. With React, import React from React. We're importing the CSS. Though I've not I'm giving a class name, class name of form. You notice that unlike in HTML, in React we do not just specify class, instead we write class name. Because what you should remember is that although what is here looks like normal HTML, is not actually HTML. It's a special form of JavaScript called JSX, which works with React. So React is able to read what is here and change it to normal HTML and JavaScript and CSS and render everything in the DOM as usual. Then after JS, all we're doing is we're importing the form and we are rendering the form out in the browser. So that's fairly simple. So this form now, we're just going to talk about form handling, events, click events and stuff like that. So it's going to be straightforward. First thing we're going to do is that we're going to import useState. So I'm just going to do that here. So I'm going to import useState. And we're going to create a new state here. If you remember from our previous videos how to work with state, you create a constant. Use the structure in Sharp to create a constant. But let me just explain it quickly. useState returns an array. So we have useState, it returns an array, right? So when we call this function, it returns an array, and that array is going to be stored. We're going to destructure it constant, and it's an array. So if you understand anything about the structure, you know that what we're trying to do is pull out the items that are returned from useState. So the first one we're going to call, let's just call it form, and the next one, you know what? Let's call it form change. And right here we're going to call it set form change. In practice, it's not going to be named like this, but I'm just doing it like this so it to be very obvious what we're trying to do here. So, as I explained earlier, what goes inside the useState, what goes inside the useState is what the first item in the array is going to be equal to. So in this case, form change is just an empty string, as seen here, right? That's one. Another thing we're going to do is in this inputs, right, we're going to give it a parameter called, we're going to give it an attribute called onChange. So this onChange takes a constant, right? Sorry, it takes a function. So what you're going to write here is a function. So let's call it change handler. And by convention, that's what you're going to be writing or naming. How is how you're going to be naming your change functions. So change handler. I'm not going to call it here. We're just going to specify that whenever something in the input changes, you should execute this change handler function. So we're going to create the function up here, and we're going to create const change handler. Remember, it's a function, So const change handler, I'm going to give the parameter, and this parameter I'm going to give here is called E or event. So let me just write down the code so you understand. So what we're basically going to do now is call we're going to create a constant and we're going to call it typed value. We're going to equate it or assign it to event dot target dot value. So what you just did here is create a constant called typed value, and it's going to be equals to event dot target dot value. This event dot target dot value is the DOM event. So like you know that in the DOM, let me just show you what it is quickly. So right now I'm going to let me console.log events. So let me just log that in the entering Chrome developer tools, which you do by I'm going to explain this later, but this is called Chrome developer tools, and you can see the console of the browser. So whenever you type something, you get a JSON object here, and what this is showing you is that it's showing you properties or settings or information about what you typed. So that's what it's basically showing you here. And there's a part called target, right? And inside this target there's value. Then you can see what we typed. If you notice, this value is F, and it's exactly what we typed here. If we keep typing, each time it's going to print out a new one. So let's check the last one. And the last letter here is what? L. So what is here should be L. So click on this event, the target, right? And inside this target we have a value. And this is what it is now. So if you notice, it's exactly the same what is here. So what you're trying to do is pull out whatever value or pull out whatever you typed here as a constant or saving it inside a constant. That is exactly what we're doing. So what we can now do is this H1 right now. If you go to our app, the H1 is saying my form. So let's just do this. I'll write my form here, and inside this H1 I'm going to dynamically render form change here. So I'm going to render form change here, and write form change. So what that is going to do is, as you type, it's going to render, it's going to execute this function, and each time you type each letter, this typed value is going to change, right? It's going to change. So right now, form change, the constant form change is equals to my form. So looking back into our app, going back to our app, we can see that my form is still my form, nothing happens. But if you know something about use states, you know that we can easily inside here put set form change, and we can change it to typed value. So what happens now is that as you type, it shows in the browser. So whatever you're going to type here is going to be rendered here. So if I write French, for instance, it's going to be there. So yeah. So that's what is going to happen. So we can create a button here. Let's just create a button, right? And let's just write submit. And we're going to set the type of the button to submit, right? And since the type is submit, we're also going to give it an onClick, and we're going to call it click handler. So we're going to create the constants here, const click handler, create it to a function, an anonymous function at that, right? So we're also going to give it okay, we've created a, and what we're going to do now inside this click handler, all we're going to do now is set form change. We're going to set it back to my form. So what this does is that when you submit it, it returns back to my form. So if we go back and write hey, when we click it, it returns back to my form. But if you notice, the whole website is refreshed. So we wrote hey, we submitted, the whole website refreshed. And what I want to do is I want to prevent the submission of this form when we click on this submit. I want to prevent that. So wow, instead of just showing you how to do it, let's Google it and find out how to do it together. So how to prevent default form submit JavaScripts. So all we have to do is call a function, and the function we're going to call is, let me scroll down, event.prevent default. So I'm just going to copy that, take it here, give it event here as a parameter, then I'm going to paste this. So all this does is, all this does is when you type anything and we click on submit, it's not going to refresh the website. So let me show you a comparison. So compared to before, if I should comment out this and I go back to, sorry, I keep doing that, and I go back to our app, if I submit it, it refreshes. So everything refreshes, goes to clean. But when we now type and refreshes, go back to clean. So if we go back to this and we uncomment this, save it, go back to our website and type and click on submit, it doesn't do that. But now we have a problem, and the problem is we want to let us be able to clear this. Let's clear wherever, because when we submit now, yes, it goes back to my form, but the input does not clear. What we typed in before is still there. And it would be really bad if it was a password. Just imagine a password here, and you type in your password to a website, you go to the website, do whatever you want to do, and when you are done, another person comes to that website and can still see your password like this, just in plain text. So it's not good. So when you submit the form should be able to clear your details, should clear from the form without refreshing the website. And how we do that is very, 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 very simple. There's a concept in React called controlled and uncontrolled form. As it is now, this form is uncontrolled. So how we can control it now is inside this input, we can explicitly tell it what value it should have by default. So we can set the value by default to be form change. So it's called two-way binding. So what we're doing now, we just implemented two-way binding, meaning that the value of this form is going to be form change. So in the beginning, form change is my form. So the value here is going to be my form in the beginning. So if we go to here and we refresh, let's just refresh. I don't know if it's saved. So if you notice now, it's my form. The reason why my form is typed here is because the value is actually my form. So if we go back, inside is my form, we change it to an empty string, and we go back here. And this is an empty string, we type, we submit, it goes back to my form. And the reason why it does that is that on click, this my form right here is what you are setting it to after you click the button. So what we can do is, initially we can type in something. So it will be somewhat as a label, and we can go here. Let's just copy and paste it to save time. Just going to copy, and we're just going to paste it here. So copied and pasted, right? And if you save that and go back to this, type in, so just like a placeholder, type in something, although it's not a placeholder. So you could type, press submit, it goes back to typing something, type. So what we're basically doing is whatever is being typed here is going to be here. So like we linked the input and the H1 right here. It's just something cool you could do. So yeah, that is basically how handling forms work, to be able to get your data that is typed from a form and maybe send it to a server or something. But this is basically how you get the data being typed in a form. So that will be all for today, and please try to understand this. If my video is not explanatory enough, this YouTube, just Google handling forms in React and it should give you some information about that. Also, this video is like a build up to a project, like a to-do app project I'm going to build in the coming days, or we are going to build in the coming days. So please try to understand this as much as you can. And as I said, I'm not a teacher, I'm just someone that is learning. I'm trying to explain what I've learned in the way I understand it. I understand it, I know how to build stuff with it, but my teaching method might not exactly be good. And teaching is not exactly the goal of this program, is to improve myself. So if I'm able to like explain it at least a little, it shows that I have an understanding of what is going on, or on how React works. So I think it's pretty cool, especially when I was a beginner. I was really fascinated by this. Like you're able to type and something on screen changes, you can submit it and it returns back to a default value and all of that. So yeah, that's all for today. Thank you for watching today's video, and bye.